everyone. Welcome to Therapy in the Great Outdoors, the business and practice of nature-based pediatric therapy. I'm Laura Park Figueroa. I'm the founder of Outdoor Kids OT, a nature-based pediatric practice in California and soon to be in Madison, Wisconsin as well. And I run the Therapy in the Great Outdoors community. You can find all of the resources that I offer for nature-based pediatric therapists at therapyinthegreatoutdoors.com. Everything's there. Easy to access for you. Loads of free stuff to support your work with children outdoors in nature. Now, today's episode is going to be my attempt at crowdsourcing ideas from all of you because I have been asked to write a book about nature-based pediatric therapy. And when I went to write the outline about what I thought would be helpful to you all, I realized that the smart thing to do would be to actually get input from all of you who are interested in nature-based practice and who may be exploring this area, or maybe you're currently running a practice and there are things that would help you in a book about nature-based therapy. So I am going to share in this episode what I am thinking the book will be about. Now, this has not even started. I am supposed to write 2 to 3 chapters and send them to the publisher by the end of June, which is coming very quickly right now. But if you have not been following along, I recently finished my PhD and I did research on nature-based pediatric occupational therapy. And I had to, once I finished my dissertation and defended it and passed, and I'm walking at graduation in a few weeks, but technically right now I'm a doctor, they say. So I suppose I should be embracing the Dr. Laura phrase, but anyway, or title. But I had to take the dissertation and get it ready to publish in a journal, right? So the challenge with that was that the dissertation was about 200 pages long and a journal article is like 20 to 30. So it was very challenging. It took me a long time, but I'm happy to say that I just submitted the draft of the manuscript for publication in a journal to my committee for their feedback. And hopefully I am going to submit the article to the journal. My goal is before graduation on May 13th, 2023. That is when I am graduating. So I'm hoping to get edits done and based on feedback from my committee, who will be co-authors on the publication because they were on my PhD committee. So once I turned that in, now I feel like I can focus my attention on the book. And I don't want to do this by myself. I don't want to write a book that is not helpful to all of you. So I'm going to share with you on this episode what I am thinking the outline might be. And what I want to do is get feedback from you. So if you are not in the Therapy in the Great Outdoors community, the community is free to join online. You can go to therapyinthegreatoutdoors.com. Every week when we publish one of these podcast episodes, we give a post dedicated to the podcast episode in the ConTiGO free discussion space. So anyone who is a member, you don't have to be a paid member, a supporting member to access this space, but anyone who is a member has access and we make this post. So what I want you to do is please, 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 after you listen to this episode, give me feedback. I want your feedback so that the book I write can be helpful to you and to other nature-based therapists as well. So, what is the book going to be about? Well, what I'm going to share with you here is going to be a very, 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 very preliminary idea of what the book will be about. Now, if you don't know, there's an excellent book out there called Nature-Based Therapy. I think it's called A Practitioner's Guide to Working in Nature with Children and Families, or Working Outdoors with Children and Families, something like that. It's written by Harper, Rose, and Segal, and you can find it on Amazon. It is written by people in the field of psychology. And if you're familiar with the literature on children and nature, you know that a lot of the literature exists in the field of psychology, and there's very minimal literature in the fields of occupational, physical, and speech therapy. Now, I want to be very clear that this podcast is for mental health counselors as well who work with children. It's for anyone who's a pediatric therapist that works with children and or wants to take their work outdoors. But I'm thinking that this book that I write is going to be more geared towards PT, OT, and speech therapists, like allied health professionals, because there isn't anything out there written by someone from one of those fields quite yet. I am aware of one that is in publication because I was asked to write a little section or blurb or contribute something. I don't know what you call it. I authored some of it, but they edited, so I don't really know how it's going to exactly turn out. But so it is written by Amy Wagenfield and Shannon Martyr, and it's going to be called Nature-Based Allied Health Practice, Creative and Evidence-Based Strategies. And that's coming out, I think they are looking for, their last email to me said they're looking for an end of the year publication date in 2023 this year. So it should be coming out, and you can see some photos of my work from my practice in there, as well as like a little blurb about my business. But this brings up an interesting point for me because these two books that I've mentioned, this one by Amy and Shannon, and then the other one, Nature-Based Therapy by Harper, Rose, and Segal, I really feel total imposter syndrome being asked to write this book because I don't know if it's something I would have done if the publishers hadn't reached out to me. And again, I don't have a contract quite yet, but I guess the reason I'm recording this episode and sharing this with y'all is because I want to know what could be helpful to you. And that's the purpose of this episode, is to get you guys to give me some feedback. So I do know that if I write something, it is going to be focused on my approach. Now, this is what the publishers told me to do. They said, this book doesn't have to be, asking the whole world what they're doing in their profession and their work with kids outdoors. It can be your approach and your beliefs about outdoor therapy. So that's kind of helpful to me because, as you all know, I have a wide variety of stuff I've written about how I view outdoor work with children. So this book will focus on the ConTiGO approach. That is the approach that I developed in 2019. It's called Connection and Transformation in the Great Outdoors. And I have an online course that teaches you that approach, and you can get certified. And I will be including that as kind of a lens for the book. I will also be sharing in the book, hopefully, my ecotherapy model, the model that I developed in my dissertation, my PhD research, is called the ecotherapy model, and that stands for the Ecology of Change in Outdoor Therapy Model, ecotherapy for short. So that model really looks at what are the mechanisms of change happening in nature-based therapy with children. And it was developed based on the perspectives of occupational therapists, but I do believe that it does apply for PT and speech and mental health as well with children. So it'll be interesting in the future if I have people do research on it to see if it does apply in other professions. So those two, my treatment approach, the ConTiGO approach, and the theory that I developed, the ecotherapy model, those two things will be heavily featured in my book. Okay, so it's going to be, the evidence is going to be there to show why the treatment approach that I developed and the theory that I developed, why they make sense in alignment with evidence, essentially. So what I'm thinking is that this book will be, as I said, primarily for PT, OT, and speech, and maybe mental health counselors if they want more information to inform their practice. I plan to talk about the literature on the benefits of nature for children's physical health, their motor skills, mental health, play, social skills, their education, cognition, all of the evidence. So I want to give, in the book, I want to give an overview from a little bit of a more academic standpoint than some of the books that I've read in our profession, like the things that have been written by OTs or other people in allied health. So I want to give that review of literature. And then I want to move into, in the book, sharing about the different roles of nature, the child, and the therapist and caregivers in the process of nature-based therapy. And so that's kind of the ecotherapy model. And then I will talk about the phases that are in the nature-based therapy intervention process, and then go into the ConTiGO approach. Like, what is the approach and how do you implement that with children to be in alignment with evidence? I think what I want to do is do different chapters for like OT using the ConTiGO approach, PT using the ConTiGO approach, and speech using the ConTiGO approach. maybe mental health using the ConTiGO approach. If there are a couple of mental health counselors that have trained in the ConTiGO approach, so it would depend on them being willing to kind of talk with me and be interviewed for the book and share with me about their practice. So then I have a lot of outlined content here about finding land. Like, how do you look for land? How do you find a space that will be good for outdoor therapy? And one of the things that I really want this book to have, which I'm realizing is maybe my unique kind of lens that I see the world through, is that I want the book to be equal parts practice and business. Because one thing that really breaks my heart is that so many nature-based businesses are not run effectively. And my concern is that when those businesses come under any kind of stress, right? For example, a global pandemic like we just went through, then they go out of business because they don't have good business systems in place to be able to keep going. And I want to see nature-based businesses, including forest schools and nature preschools and any kind of outdoor program, wilderness adventure programs, things like that. I want to see programs really doing well and having good business systems in place and being organized and systematic and just really serving their clients well from the business side of things, right? So I know that these businesses are doing really transformational work with children, and yet I worry that sometimes businesses may go under or maybe they end up closing their doors because the business owner burns out, right? Because they don't have systems. So one of the things I want this book to do is be equal parts practice and business. So I think I just said that. You guys, I'm recording this at 7:30 at night. So sometimes I'm going to repeat myself, and I'm so sorry if I repeated myself, but I'm telling myself too that I'm not going to turn around and re-record because I tend to do that too much when I record these episodes. So you're getting the real me here who sometimes repeats myself. So what I want to do is talk about all the research and the theory and how you do the ConTiGO approach and how to do work outdoors with kids. How do you make things fun for kids? But then I also want to have business parts of the book. So logistical elements of offering outdoor therapy, supplies you need, liability insurance, risk assessment, incident reporting, permitting, finances, all of those things. And then setting up systems for outdoor therapy service provision, like marketing, policies, intake forms, communication with clients, progress reporting, hiring and training a team. Those are things I have listed here. And then my question for you all is, okay, does any of this sound like it would be helpful? And then also, I have a couple of other things here. I mean, this book could be like giant if I don't limit the scope. So I'm not sure that I will do this, but I do have a question mark here on a section titled Outdoor Skills for Nature-Based Therapy. So I wrote, not sure about this. Lots of books out there with activities. Likely does not belong in this book. Or maybe each therapist from different professions shares an activity they love to do with children outdoors to illustrate the different professions' approaches in other chapters, question mark. So I'm just, again, at the very early stages of generating ideas here. Some ideas I had down were like fort building with kids, fire building with kids, basic whittling, hanging swings, nature games for motor skills, nature games for social skills. But I do think that this is probably the part of the book that is not going to be a main kind of portion of the book. I'm not sure how it will end up, kind of how the cards will fall as we organize the content, but I think there are so many resources out there that have this kind of information for therapists. So I'm not sure if it's necessary for it to be a major part of this book. I think I want to focus more on therapists understanding the evidence, understanding the why and the how of nature-based work, and then the skills part, like that real nitty-gritty learn how to do something part. You kind of need to practice that anyway, and you can learn that from a lot of different places, YouTube videos and places online. So I don't know if that will be part of it. So weigh in if you think, no, it should totally be part of it. I want to hear that. Other ideas I have down here are strategies for facilitating outdoor play, like how do you actually facilitate play in children? Scaffolding an outdoor therapy session, like the structure of how you would carry out a session, managing groups in outdoor therapy work, responding to challenging behaviors in outdoor sessions, like using a relationship-based approach and visuals and games and different things that can take containment, like making a smaller space for kids. So there's a lot I could write about that too as well. And then I have a final one, which again, I don't know if I'm going to do because I think it's very large for this book, but partnering with outdoor programs. Like, how can you as a therapist partner with a school that is wanting to do more outdoor work, or maybe partner with a forest school to provide services there? So that might be another section, which I have some people in mind to ask about doing that. So that is my big, huge outline. And again, you guys, I just feel so overwhelmed by it right now. So I would love, love, love any feedback. And if there are things that I shared from this very rough outline, like watch the book I write will look nothing like this, I'm sure. But if there are things I shared in this episode just now, as I went through the outline kind of that I have written for the book, that you were like, oh my gosh, yes, I totally want to read that. Or no, that would not be helpful to me. Like, I don't need that. Let me know that. I want to know that. So please, please go to the Therapy in the Great Outdoors community. If you're already a member, it's really easy to go to tigo.circle.so, and that's how you log into the community. We do have an app too. So Circle, the platform that we use for the community, has an app. So if you didn't know that, download the Circle app and you can access TiGO on the go. And please weigh in on this episode and leave your comments there about if there are other things that you think would be really helpful. If there are just things that have come up a lot in your conversations with other nature-based people, or if you're just getting started and you feel overwhelmed and you have questions, then please let me know the things that would make sense to you. I have thought about doing like a Google survey. So I may actually do that in the future once I get started writing and have a little bit more of a firm idea about what the book will be about. And I think it would be really easy to get a Google form set up where people could give feedback about, on a scale of like 1 to 5, is this like very helpful or not helpful at all? And just kind of have people rank different topics. So you may see that come out too. I may do that in the future. But I would really relish your feedback. I want this to be a book that helps you in your work with children. So please, 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 I'm begging you, please, to give me feedback. So that is it for today. I just wanted to share this with you. I am excited about it and also feeling imposter syndrome and overwhelmed and scared and all of the feelings. Anytime you do something new, these are the feelings that may come up. And I think as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as someone who has been in business for a while and has experienced a lot of setbacks and failures, I find it hilarious that I'm always surprised by these feelings when they come up when I do something new. But if you are nervous or scared or overwhelmed or feeling out of your league when you're doing something, that probably means that you are in the right place, like feeling exactly what you should be feeling when you're about to do something new that is unknown to you and a little bit scary and exciting all at the same time. So don't be afraid of the discomfort, you all. If you're just getting started or if you're doing something new in your nature-based practice, lean into it. Lean into that discomfort, because that is how you are going to do great things in your career and in your work with children and families. So I hope this will be a great thing, this book, when it's eventually done. I'm hoping to write it in about a year, so we'll see. All that time I was spending on my dissertation, and I'll be writing now. I love writing, though. It's one of my favorite things to do. So I'll just keep up the writing, and we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. And if I even get a proposal accepted, we'll see. Even though they reached out to me, I guess this isn't really a done deal quite yet because I don't have the signed contract. So say your prayers for me, y'all, as I'm going through this writing process to submit something to them by the end of June. I need to be focused. And again, just I'm really thinking a lot about what can really help you all. So that's it. I will see you guys in the TiGO community. Until next time, see you then. Thanks so much for joining us today for Therapy in the Great Outdoors. If you can't get enough, if you just want even more information about nature-based pediatric practice, head on over to therapyinthegreatoutdoors.com. At that website, you can join our free community, Therapy in the Great Outdoors, that has loads of resources for you to support your nature-based work with children, as well as a free ebook that I wrote called the Nature-Based Practice Roadmap. It is a guide to help you focus and avoid costly mistakes, which I might have made myself, as you start or grow your nature-based pediatric practice. On the website, you can also join the waitlist for the ConTiGO Approach online course. ConTiGO stands for Connection and Transformation in the Great Outdoors. This course will teach you everything you need to know to become an expert in nature-based pediatric therapy. To my knowledge, it is the only evidence-based, operationalized framework for pediatric nature-based therapy. And what that means is that when you take the ConTiGO Approach course, you will have a shared mental model for yourself, your clients, and your team. And this is how you grow a business, by having a framework that you use in your business that helps kind of anchor everyone to what is going on here and what are we doing. You'll learn about the research-based and theoretical foundations of nature-based practice and loads of practical how-tos about nature-based practice. How can you do nature-based practice in alignment with the evidence in order to get the best results for your clients? So a lot of times when people start out in nature-based work, I think they're DIYing it, which is fine. We learn a lot by DIYing things. However, you're not often sure if you're doing things correctly. And that means you could be making mistakes that could be costing you valuable time with families and children and getting them the outcomes that they really want from your session. DIYing also costs you personally valuable time and money as you are getting started in nature-based work. And this course can save you all of that time and money. This course also includes lifetime access, including any updates we make, and ongoing mentoring for years to come on our mentoring calls that we offer with the online course. So truly gives you everything you need to become an expert. I promise that. And it's the only course that will guarantee that for you. So head on over to therapyinthegreatoutdoors.com. You can also go to contigoapproach.com, but I have tried to make everything available at therapyinthegreatoutdoors.com to make it easy to find all of the resources there in one place for you. That's it for today. Get outdoors, connect, reflect, and enjoy the business and practice of therapy in the great outdoors.